247 Sports ranked all Power 5 starting quarterbacks, and you won't believe where the West Virginia quarterback is ranked. Coos from Coos' Corner and I are going to talk about that right after this word from our sponsor. This episode of Mountaineer Paul Talk Football is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com or come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you. This is for Cameron. What is up, guys, and welcome back. Welcome in. It's the Dynamic Duo. We're back at it again. Our second video today. If you watched Hoops from the Hills, it may go up before or after this, but you'll be waiting for that. So it's Coos and I, man. We're here to talk quarterbacks, which is one of my favorite subjects. If you like college football, quarterbacks is probably a favorite subject of yours. And Coos, there was a list of quarterbacks that came out today. 247 Sports released it. And we got to looking at that thing, and you had to scroll like a country mile.
Yeah.
Show these guys exactly what we're talking about to find certain quarterbacks on the list.
See where Garrett Greene was rated. I went here and I said, well, he's not in the top 25. No big surprise, right? He's not a lot of experience. He's not going to be rated ahead of guys like Jackson Dart, right? Now, so I thought,
Klubnik.
K. Klubnik. Yeah. Where's Garrett Greene? Wait a minute.
We're down to the ads.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Number 69. How many Power 5 schools are there, Paul?
69.
So do you think Garrett Greene is the worst Power 5 quarterback in the country?
No way.
This is a travesty, in my opinion. I mean, Garrett Greene, look, his passer rating last year it won't blow you away. 55% completion percentage, passer rating of 121. Not terrible, but not great. But look what he does with his legs, man. I don't know, man. It's baffling to me that you got a guy, Garrett Greene, who's obviously talented that far down the list.
But look one spot ahead.
Yeah.
I think Grant Wells could very well be the worst quarterback in Power 5. You look at the numbers. What are those numbers from last year?
Grant Wells completed only 59% of his passes, threw only 9 touchdowns. But he also threw 9 interceptions.
And that's in a full slate of action. And you look at Garrett Greene, he was in spot duty. JT Daniels was supposed to have played the whole year. He only played, bits and pieces of it. He played the majority. And really all of Garrett Greene's production came in, 2 games? So
2.5, yeah.
Yeah, 2.5 games. So can you really fault him? But, in those 2 games, they looked pretty good. And 2 of the 3 games were won. So I think you look at that and you can project up Garrett Greene a little bit from this list. Well, guys, we're not saying that he needs to be ranked higher than – I thought 40 would have been a good number for a guy that's on a supposedly 14th place team in the Big 12.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you the bigger travesty, Coos.
What's that?
How is Tony Muskett playing at Virginia and not West Virginia with that last name?
Great point. He picked the wrong school.
He picked the wrong school, man. You got the last name of Muskett. You need to be a Mountaineer.
Yeah. Absolutely. But guys, Grant Wells, and I know Grant Wells is only one spot ahead of Garrett Greene. I get that. 68, 69, and you're grasping at straws at that point, right? But it's just the principle of the matter. I saw Grant Wells in person last year in Blacksburg when West Virginia mopped the floor with Virginia Tech and kept that Black Diamond Trophy in Morgantown, by the way. Grant Wells was not a good quarterback, man. I'm just being upfront. No disrespect to the young man. He's a West Virginia kid, but he did not play well at all last year. Garrett Greene is the only West Virginia quarterback ever to beat Oklahoma and Oklahoma State in the same season and start both of those games. So I just think it's ridiculous that he be ranked that low. And then you look at some of the other guys. Like now you got a guy like Rocco Becht, the guy you mentioned the other day in the video. He's 57th.
He's a legacy kid.
Yeah, 57th on this list. Nothing against the kid. But guess how many passes he's thrown in his career? 15.
15 career passes.
And you're going to rank him 12 spots ahead of Garrett Greene, who has beaten Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. And Garrett Greene, we didn't even talk about the yards he's gotten with his legs.
Yeah.
He had over 100 yards in the win against Oklahoma last year. And he had, what, over 600 in his career? So over 6 yards a carry.
Over 6 yards a carry.
And that counts. I'm pretty sure that includes sacks, too.
I'm sure it probably does. I mean, you look at some of the names on this list: Emmett Moorhead, Brady Cook. I'm sure Missouri fans all know about him. Boston College fans all know about Moorhead. Unfortunately, guys like Kuz and myself who are so immersed in our own school sometimes don't look outwardly enough into the other schools until during the season. Maybe one of these guys breaks out, and this sounds dumb, but as of right now, I don't know who they are. And I think a lot of people, especially in the Big 12, knows who Garrett Greene is. And there are other quarterbacks on this list. I mean, we wrote a few down. And there are other guys that I just don't know who they are. Like, and why would they be ahead of Garrett Greene? You look how Slovis played last year. I thought more was left to be desired there. But there are more travesties on this list than just Garrett Greene.
Oh, there are a lot of travesties, actually.
They're right there on the page.
Yeah. And look, Phil Dracovic, look, it's Pitt, okay? I hate to say anything positive about Pitt. This is going to hurt. Phil Dracovic is a lot better than the 48th quarterback in the country, okay?
No doubt.
I mean, that's a travesty. But look at 47, Graham Mertz. Are you telling me Graham Mertz from Wisconsin is better than Garrett Greene? Graham Mertz, here's some numbers from him last year. He's at Florida now. He's been playing at Wisconsin. Last season, Graham Mertz threw for 2,100 yards, 19 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That's nothing to brag about. Only completed 57% of his passes. QB rating of 88. Garrett Greene's QB rating is 121.
If Garrett Greene plays a full season, I promise he'll have better numbers than that.
Yeah.
It might be in the form of rushing. I don't think anybody expects Garrett to throw for 4,000 yards his first year as a starter, especially with such a heavily running team that we're probably going to be, or at least we're going to run it more. But I do think here's the things I predict for Garrett Greene and his passing stats. I think his yards per catch by the receivers and his yards per attempt are going to be higher.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be throwing the ball deep, and that's something he does really well. He, at last check, now I haven't seen him this year yet, but in the past has struggled in the intermediate throwing game. So I think that's something that Garrett Greene has to rectify this year. He's got to get better between the numbers, between the hashes, making some of those more difficult throws outside the numbers when you start to get to those real big outs and things like that. I think there's things that Garrett can improve on, but I do think he throws the best deep ball, one of the best deep balls in the conference, really. Yeah. Go look at that Oklahoma game last year. Go look at the Oklahoma State game. Tell me that he did not throw beautiful deep balls in either of those games.
And the few practice clips we've seen of this year in fall camp, he's thrown some dimes.
And Nico, for his merit, also throws a really good deep ball.
Absolutely. Nothing away from Nico. I'd put Nico higher than last on this list.
I would. There's no doubt.
To be frank.
Now, that's probably a little biased because he hasn't played.
Right.
But, because using some of our own logic against this. But I mean, generally speaking, I think if you play either one of these guys 12 games with the squad we have, and we're not by any means world beaters at the receiver position that we know of yet this year, I still think they do better than 19 and 10 in 2,000 yards.
And number 29 is another one Paul and I were kind of talking about before we got here. And this one might be – Paul did a video talking about this guy the other day.
Yep.
I mean, Drew Allar from Penn State. Now, Drew Allar is he's a threat. He's probably going to be a star, right? I know he's got the talent. He got the arm talent. He's got the skill. But the kid has never played a game in college.
Yeah.
And they've got him rated as the 29th best quarterback in the country. Yet you got Garrett Greene, who has played games in college, who has started games at the Power 5 level and won at 69th. Somebody make sense of that for me, because I don't understand it.
I don't either, man. I don't either. I think he's kind of getting the Quinn Ewers treatment, and I understand why, but for me, until you prove it on the field, which you'll have a chance to game one,
yeah,
against a team that Most are being, most are favoring us to lose this game by multiple touchdowns. He better look like the 29th best quarterback in that game, or he's going to hear about it from us. We're bookmarking this. We will revisit it after the season at some point, or at least in reference.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be talking about this list because we don't think, although a few of you out there may be a fan of the number 69, we don't really like it on Garrett Greene.
That's right. I don't like it on Garrett Greene at all. And there was a popular video going around about famous country singer Charles Wesley Godwin gave a speech to the team the other day. Told a story about how him and his band got slotted in an afternoon, which is in the music industry. That's where you put the up and coming bands or the new bands or the bands that aren't as popular, right? You put them in the afternoon slot. Well, he was, I guess at the time they were somewhat popular, and they felt disrespected by being slotted in that 220 slot in a festival. So they used that as motivation on their tour the rest of the year, and it helped them. So now they got the phrase. They had the phrase 220, and they used that as their calling card for the rest of the year. And he told the team, "Hey, you use number 4 before every game. Number 14 is what you need to think about because they're picking you to finish 14th in this conference." So for Garrett Greene's sake, he needs to be number 69 in his head because that is where they think he is the 69th best quarterback in all of Power 5, not just in the Big 12, all of Power 5.
To spell it out, West Virginia has the worst quarterback in Power 5, according to them.
Yeah, that's it, which would explain why they have him ranked so low.
Yeah.
But I don't buy it, man. I just don't buy it. I mean,
well, we've seen too much of GG to expect him to be the worst. Nobody's expecting him to be the best.
No.
And maybe he turns out to be really good in his own way because he's a unique player. Is a top 3 or 4 guy in the Big 12. I could certainly see that happening if everything falls right. But we're going to need some players to make some big jumps.
Absolutely.
Obviously, the offensive line has to be what Matt Moore is preaching to be. I think, CJ and Jalen have to have the years we expect them to have, and that those freshmen are going to do what they would, along with CJ, do what they need to do. And then we need, obviously, Devin Carter to be a number 1 guy. And like I said, Tony Gitson, I put it on my show. I had the screenshot. He himself believes, he told me, out of his own mouth on the text, that he thinks Devin Carter's a number 1 receiver.
Yep.
Without the speed. He said he's a more of a possession type guy, but those guys come around all the time that are like Kelvin Benjamin that Florida State had a few years back.
Yep.
That are more possession type guys that were still mismatches in the red zone. David Sills type players that maybe aren't burners, but beat people by their size and length and athleticism. So, and obviously there's other guys I can name.
Yeah. But anyway, we just wanted to take this opportunity to shout out, Garrett Greene. We know Garrett, as West Virginia fans, we know better than that. We know you're not the worst quarterback in all of Power 5. I know Paul and I talk a lot, and he knows how high I am on Garrett Greene. I love the guy. I mean, he's one of my favorite Mountaineers of all time, just to be honest with you. His loyalty has meant everything to me. The fact he's hung around when he could have transferred for the last 3 seasons because he wasn't getting a lot of playing time, or as much as he'd like, but he stuck it out. And because of that, it's made me like the kid. And of course, the young man, he's a grown man now, and then, also his ability to make plays and stuff with his legs makes him exciting to watch as well. But yeah, I mean, the world's watching. I'm sure this is going to, Garrett will use this as a chip on the shoulder, right? And motivate him.
1469.
There you go. 1469 should be their calling card for this season, at least for game 1 anyway. If they can go out there and shock the world. Interesting note, though, Paul. Somebody sent me a message earlier today. Your viewers may find this interesting. When Neil Brown was at Troy and they upset LSU in Baton Rouge, guess what the spread was for the game?
What's that?
20.5.
Wow.
Guess what the spread is for our game against Penn State?
Well, go out on
20.5.
20.5.
So maybe that's a sign. I don't know. We'll see.
Guys, we really appreciate you guys for tuning in and watching Coos and I. This is a rare occurrence as we are finally able to get in the same room here at my sister's house and do a show together. And we really appreciate you guys and the support you give us and all the compliments that you tell us all the time, how well we work together. we see it too, and we try to lean into that as much as we can and do shows together as much as we possibly can. I'd like to thank Coos personally for coming down here and doing this show with me, these couple of shows. And guys, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to his channel. I'm not exaggerating when I say he's blowing up right now, guys. He's got videos that are getting up into the tens of thousands of views. Is really impressive, especially because we're in a really niche kind of product here. We're talking to you guys, and there's only so many of you guys, and we're in a smaller state. So we don't expect always to get these types of views. Coos has done really well branching out, talking about conference realignment, and I just wanted to give him a shout out for his show is really taken off. It's one of the most professionally done shows there is. He's got extremely good contacts all around the country. You look, he's going on. He was on a radio show in Phoenix today. So I have a really, really well-connected partner here and somebody I'm extremely proud of. So make sure you're subscribed to his channel, guys.
But subscribe here first. Since you're here, you got to subscribe.
Yeah.
And like and comment. Let us know what you think about Garrett Greene and getting ranked 69th in the country. 69. Think about it. Let it sink in. 69th in the country, man.
It's last. I think Garrett will be motivated for sure. And whoever starts the quarterback for West Virginia, even if it is Nico, I don't expect him to be dead last. We don't expect anything like that. So we've got a better team than the last. And that's what we keep hearing. And we are not going to be the product of other people's opinions. We're not going to accept that. So we're going to talk about these Mountaineers like they're world beaters, like we believe they can beat Penn State week 1. We're going to talk about it, and I think we've got a shot. I'm not making any predictions here. We're going to do that later. But I do think there is a formula for winning, just like there is in every game for us. And we're going to talk about what that formula is. So this has been another edition of Mountaineer Paul Talks Football, guys. This episode is over. Coos and I are out. This is for Cameron. Tim Cal.